channel with me, JB. Hope we're all doing really well this Tuesday, the 14th of October. Now, I have to look at my watch. I should really be writing the date down on a piece of paper that I've got in front of me. I hope we're all doing really, really well this morning, this afternoon, evening, whatever you are, and whatever you are, or whatever you are doing, and whatever you are up to today. Get into the chat. Let me know about your day. Let me know where you're from. Danny B, morning JB, morning Danny B. Hope you're doing extremely well today. I didn't do a show last night, basically because there wasn't really a lot to talk about. I should have done a late show. I've not done one of those for a little while, but family life takes over at the moment. It's quite stressful. Danny, 7 a.m. here, mate. It is early. So I appreciate you being on here and commenting early, Danny B. Legend of the chat, my friend. Letitia says hi. Hello, Letitia. Legend as well. Hope you're doing extremely well. There's a little bit to get into today. Don't have to talk about potential sales today. There's a tiny little bit that we can go through on that. There really isn't a lot. It's gone really quiet on that, which I think is an interesting piece. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, what I do here is I do genuinely read through the chats because I respect your opinion. I hope you respect mine as well. And the beauty of this is that, just because I talk doesn't mean my opinion is the end of the chat. This is about your opinion and my opinion, and this is a place for you to get your opinion in. Toxic, welcome, my friend. Long time, JB, long time. We miss you on here, my friend. I hope you're doing extremely well. So get in your opinions, get in. There are some things to talk about today, but get into your opinions. Lawrence says haircut. Yes, I needed a haircut. It was becoming an absolute atrocious mess as it was. So I went and just had a little bit of a haircut, a little bit of a shave, even though it's come back now. So yeah. So again, as I say, I'm not a dictator of this chat. I do read out your chats, get in your opinion. There is the United bias fan. I'm not biased at all. If you've watched the channel previously, I'm not biased. But when I say the only bias that you'll find here is, do I think that this club is the best club in the entire world? Yes. But I'm a realistic, logical fan. One thing that we do in here is so. But Mikhail, the funny thing is, my friend, you say that I'm biased, and you come out and say AC Milan is better. You summed it up. So I'm biased. I respect AC. Look, if you think AC is better, I'm not here to tell you that your club is not better than my club or my club is better than yours. I think my club is. AC, respect. AC Milan, fantastic club. AC Milan and United are very, very similar. Okay, AC Milan is a giant, absolute giant. I mean, what an amazing club. Right now they're falling. I do. I remember 2007 AC Milan. Look, I've got nothing but respect for AC. I don't believe they're better than us. But that's your opinion and that's your club. Absolutely no disrespect from me. I think AC Milan are a fantastic club. History, absolutely amazing. So there's no disrespect. We have many different fans who come onto this channel. Absolute respectful, amazing banter is appreciated, but there is a fine line. There is a fine line. They're not fooling. They are becoming better to the level where they belong. Look, right now, AC Milan are nowhere near the level that they should be. Nowhere near. Napoli, they're nowhere near Napoli. Can they get back? Yes, but let's not pretend. AC Milan are nowhere near where they need to be. They are nowhere near the superpower that they once were. Nowhere near. But that's my opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm right on that one. Anyway, this is not the AC Milan show. I'm sure there's a channel for you to go and talk about them on there. So what are we talking about today? So let's go Lisandro Martinez. So Lisandro Martinez. Now he's been out. God, since last year. I think the beginning of the season last year. I think with an ACL. Talk about Amorim. We're not going to be talking about him just yet. I am refraining at the moment from talking about Amorim. If you guys want to get into that at some point, we can do, but I'm going to refrain from talking about the manager for now because it's only Tuesday and there'll be more than enough time on the weekend to talk about him. And of course, I will do a show in regarding to that. So Lisandro, where are we? So Lisandro, according to reports, is back. Has an ACL. He won't be the same. The hype is useless. Now, toxic. I've give you a I've given my thoughts on Martinez many times, but I think we've got to respond to this. Now, ACL doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end of a career. It can do that, and we can talk about that as well, right? Let's go through it. Steak and cheese. So the interesting thing there, if you look at the thumbnail, we're talking about Jobe Bellingham here. So we're not talking about the bigger brother. We are talking about Jobe in here. So I can give you some of the news on that as well. Get your opinions in on that as well. So Martinez. So let's talk about Toxic's point in regard to this, and then I'll tell you where I'm at on it as well, and then you get your opinions in on it. So Emi Martinez. Now, in the last 2 years, this guy has belly. Exactly toxic. It is Joe. And if you look at the thumbnail, it's all there. Letitia says, Raquel, you are just a troublemaker. He's fine. So he's been out for 2 years. So he had a long-standing injury. So, and then he's done his ACL. So we're talking about 2 years now. I think Martinez is about 26, 27. So we are coming to that age range now where injuries are going to start to take a toll. Now, he's not a young guy. I think Wirtz has had an ACL. I know that Van Dijk, for example, but doesn't really matter so much in terms of pace for him. Pace is important to a degree, but his positioning is so good. Now, Martinez is an all-action, tenacious defender. He can step into the midfield as well. Now, will this impact him? Let's talk about when he's back, and then we can talk about maybe what we think is going to happen. So Badir at Lille in Jan. Danny, we can talk about that as well in regards to Jobe as well. People are acting like he will come good and change the whole team, but Lucha has... Okay, so a good opinion. So apparently Martinez is back in full training. So he's available apparently from the Brighton game to the Forest game. So I think the 27th and then the 1st. All right. So, or could be the 26th. So apparently the Brighton game is where he's penciled in to come back and make a appearance. So one of the things that I think that we need to, and we can talk about the good and bad, is talk about the good first. So if we are getting the Martinez back of old, then we've got somebody who is tenacious, who will bring that energy into the back three, who can step into midfield, who can almost be that extra midfield player. So actually then what we do have is we kind of then do have that three in the midfield. Toxic says Justin Brighton have no plans to sell Belieber before next summer. Reports that the 21-year-old is pushing for a move is also being dismissed. We can get that in towards the end. I will note that down because I've got my opinions on that as well. So positives are he's back. He brings energy. Now, Toxic, to go back to that and what I've been saying, on my opinion on it, and what I said before the start of the season, is this: what Martinez are we going to get back? Now, you've got a player who's had two injuries, significant injuries in the last two and a half years. Now, doing your ACL doesn't necessarily mean that you're done, but in a large majority of cases, an ACL is a very impactful injury. So I am of the opinion that I think that Martinez is not going to be the same player. Now, again, look, people are getting hyped. People are happy. I get it. I really do get it. It's nice to have somebody who has that leadership and drive, who will run through walls. I wonder what Martinez we're going to have when he comes back. Now, there is a secondary point to this, is that he's not played for a long time. Now, when you train, it is not the same as when you play Premier League games. Now, I wonder if there's going to be a secondary injury here very, very soon. I wonder what Martinez comes back, and my worry is he comes back and he gets injured again. If that happens, Martinez is done. Now, I am also of the opinion that we've got players like Luke Shaw. Martinez, at the moment, I put him into Luke Shaw, not because I dislike him, but we've got these injury-prone players who are injured. And now, what are they going to do within this team? So I'm hoping and praying that Lisandro can come back to the player that he was. I don't think he will. And again, this is my opinion, and I hope that I'm wrong on this one. I really, really do. I like the player. I think he's got the right attitude, but because of how he plays and the tenacity that he shows, he's not going to hold himself back. I do wonder how good he will be when he comes back. So I think that when he comes back, it's going to take him a couple of games. Now, Maguire says Martinez will be good. Now they've got that chemistry. So, and that's a good point, because what I wanted to mention next is this. Yoro is one of our better defenders and has been. I prefer him in there. So what this now means is we've got Aiden Heaven, who I thought was great last season. Pre-season wise, he didn't necessarily set the world on fire. I thought he was okay. So now what we've got is these injury-prone players, or these injury pros like Luke Shaw, Maguire. Not necessarily injury-prone, but he has had a lot of them over the last 2 to 3 years. He's getting older. He's going to sign a new deal. And now Martinez is back. So what does this mean for the pathway to these young players? So Yoro, I think he's one of the most exciting players. So who now plays in that back three? So we have other. Agree, Danny. Agree. Completely agree. But my problem here with this is Martinez hasn't played for 2 years. Why does he get back? Why does he go straight back in to this side? Mary says, I'm here now. Hello, Mary. Welcome. Legend of the chat. And this is my problem, is that now we've got injury-prone players, and whether we like it or not, so Martinez is. I do believe Luke Shaw needs to go. If Martinez has to go into this side and replaces Luke Shaw, I'm happy all day. Happy all day long. But my worry now is that it's going to be a back three of Luke Shaw, Martinez, and De Ligt. And that for me is terrifies me. De Ligt, Martinez, Luke Shaw in that back three. That absolutely terrifies me. Mary, thank you. You are missed on here as well. So I think that trepidation I do have. Look, I'm happy that he's back. I'm happy that he's involved, but I think too he hasn't suffered with constant injuries in some place, or Lucha's injuries were contact injuries. He never pulls anything. He's just too physical and bad luck. Stephanie, welcome. Lucha, our unofficial captain, needs to be fully functioning midfield quartet in front of him. When he returns, that's why he picks up injuries. Midfield is too weak. And guys, I think these are very good points. But Danny, I think to counteract that, mate, is that whilst I agree, and I'm not disputing their opinion at all, 2 major injuries in 2 years, it concerns me. It concerns me. So, Danny, look, mate, I'm with you. I hope he comes back. Stephanie, I hope he comes back, and I hope that he is the same player. Look, even if he's fallen off a couple of percent, right? I am happy, right? If he comes back and he plays until the end of the season, he's not injured, then I'm happy for him to continue. My worry here is where is the pathway for these young defenders? So Euro for me is the big concern. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a great player. My worry is now a back three of Luke Shaw, Martinez, and De Ligt. That is the worry for me. We're going to have Luke Shaw. We could even have a situation whereby we have a back three of Martinez, Maguire, and Luke Shaw. What does that tell you about the progression of this club? So look, I think this is a celebration. Lee says more chances of United signing Prince Harry than Bellingham. Are you on mushrooms? Now, Lee, if you look at the thumbnail, which one is on there? It's Jobe Bellingham. Okay, so I'll give you the news on that next. So it's going to be really, really funny. Why do you not react, dude? Is that to me? I don't know. I'm just going through the chats, mate. I'm not reading all of your chats to do with AC Milan. So Mikhail says, United need to change formation if they want to win something. Formation is nonsense. Mikhail, look, mate, the formation thing has been spoken about. I think it's a very, very simplistic argument at this point. It's a very, very simplistic argument to talk about the formation. There is nothing wrong with the formation. There is nothing wrong with the system. Okay. The players do not suit the system. And as I've spoken about many, many times on here, if you hire a coach to play a specific system, you've got to give him his players. He hasn't been given those players. And do I think that he should change it round? Yes, I do. Even if he keeps the system but puts the right players in the right position, I disagree. He's not Ten Hag. Ten Hag is not better. 100% not. He hasn't been given his players. So I'm not going to go through that now. I'll keep the formation stuff and all the team stuff towards the back end of the week when he does the conference, and then we can talk about it then. But look, you're entitled to your view. I disagree. John McQueen says, Martinez is made of glass, but Bellingham will never join us. But John, to be clear, if you look at the thumbnail, we're talking about Jobe Bellingham. That is who we are talking about. Stephanie, yeah. So let's get on to that. So let's not get this confused. So we're not talking about Jude, we're talking about Jobe. So just saying that Ten Hag is not better. Well, he did a lot better than Amorim. Eric Ten Hag. So the reason why, and I will come back on that one. The reason why Eric Ten Hag did better is basically because he played a system that these players can play. The problem was Eric Ten Hag. Like, the problem was the personality. The problem is that these players down tools. The problem is we had toxicity in this club. It's still there, but we've purged a lot of that. All right? We haven't purged it all. So Eric Ten Hag did better because he played a system that these players can play. The reason why we're playing worse is purely because Ineos, in all their wisdom, decided to hire a coach that plays a completely different system that his players can't play. And the manager's now playing them out of position, not them all. And we also have to factor in, we all know what these players are. So again, that's a conversation for the sort of end of the week. Roger Fernandez goes to Saudi was criminal. From the board, he was Amorim's second choice wing back after Quenda. We always end up Roger Fernandez go to Saudi was criminal. I agree. After Quenda, he always end up with option D. And Danny, mate, that is the point here. Is that that's it? Amorim has, Shesko wasn't Amorim's first choice. Amorim didn't get his players, and I know people love to blame him for that, but Amorim didn't want these players. Amorim wanted some different players and different options of players, but Amorim was given players who the footballing committee decided to give him. And I've been asked to show my proof on this one, but if you go back and you look, it is all out there. Amorim thought he was going to get Gyökeres, Quenda, and all these sorts of players, and he basically ended up. Shesko and Cunha were overpriced. I disagree. I really do. Shesko, 22 years old. And we are talking about Shesko here. So the guy's at 22 years old. So I disagree. Tulip, hi. I hope you're doing extremely well. So I do disagree that Shesko was overpriced. Cunha was that second or third best player in the league last season in terms of what he brought. So I disagree. And Shesko, go think about Shesko, the age, what he can bring. So look, I disagree. I disagree with that. Mark Harris, let's have a look. The Butcher is back, hoping he doesn't get butchered again. Can stay fit, and we can sell him in the summer. We need, and I'm with you. On that one completely. I do think that is what we do need to do. If he stays fit, I agree with you. I absolutely think that we do. But sadly, the fact that Maguire is being offered a new contract, there's no chance. Ollie, hello, my friend. Mark Harris, legend of the chat. So back three, Shaw, Maguire at Anfield. Dalot, Bruno, Manu benched. Usual suspects. Look, Mark, I know your opinions on the coach. Look, Amorim, again, if Amorim does that, look, Sir Jim's giving him 3 years, right? He's not getting 3 years. If this is what he does at Anfield, and they lose very, very quickly, Amorim is not going to survive. Do I think Amorim needs time? Yes. But as I've always said this, if Amorim puts his own agenda before the club, then he's got to go. If Amorim doesn't, and he's doing the best and playing with what he's got, and he's doing what he thinks he needs to with these players, look, it's a difficult situation. But as I've said before, I can't defend. I can't go against people who want Amorim out. I can't do it. There were too many. There were too many instances, and there were too many things that have gone wrong. And I don't blame people for that, for not forgiving him for the things that he's done. But ultimately, in my opinion, he still hasn't had his team. I was in London. As you know, my dad's from London. I don't know why nobody waited for me in London for an exam. What's the whole reason? What's the whole reason they talked Zirkzee from AC Milan? Look, they didn't overpay for Zirkzee. They basically paid what he was worth. They played the clause. They paid a little bit more. Xerxes going to go back. I do think he will. Aslan says, "Hi man, how you doing? I'm very well. I hope you are. I like Lucha, but we need to sell him if we get a decent money for him. He is too injury prone. We don't want another Lucha." Sure, I'm with you, Tulip. I really like him, but I think you're right. Please support every person that's nice, man. Please, because he's really nice. Thank you very much. So, Jobe Bellingham, where are we on that? They didn't overpay for Xerxes after doing one season, Serie A 60 plus. They didn't pay 60 million for him. So, Mikel, I don't know where you've got your information from. We didn't pay 60 million for him. So you're wrong. And his salary is not huge. So you are wrong on that one. We didn't pay 60 million and the salary is probably in line. So I'm just saying, my friend, you do need to get your facts straight. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, so Jobe. So Jobe went to Dortmund, much like Jude did, for £27 million in the summer from Sunderland. Looking like a good deal. Jobe following the same path. Now the problem at the moment is Jobe is not getting the playing time that he wants to get. I can't remember what the playing time is, but it is basically not enough for him. So there are lots of reasons as well. Bro Agent also got something at 15-20. It wasn't 60 million. It wasn't 60 million. So you're wrong. It wasn't 60 million for Xerxes. You're just wrong. It's not that amount of money. I'm not going to argue with you. You're wrong, but that's fine. So now there are a couple of factors here. Number one, from what I've heard his father isn't particularly great. I've heard there are things around the family whereby Jude has been doing it extremely well, so the same is expected for Jobe. And there are allegations of arrogance from the dad. The dad is very disruptive, and he's not playing because maybe that is having an impact on the playing time and the player. He's still a young kid as well. The expectation as well. So he's not getting the playing time that he wants. Now, my observation here is that United, they'd have to go in maybe with the same sort of cash. Now, Palace are interested in this player as well. I can see Palace going for that sort of deal. My problem here is that why sign Jobe Bellingham when you've got Mainu? Whether we think they're similar players or not, in my opinion here, why would you sign Jobe Bellingham if Mainu is sat on the bench? It doesn't make sense to me. So you're going to have another situation whereby you're going to have Mainu and Jobe sitting on the bench. So unless Amorim, for me, wants this player, he's seen something, he's busting for this player. I just don't see why we would go for Jobe Bellingham. Hello, I'm a 48-year-old man from Somalia. My name is Berkra. Sorry for my bad English. I sell my wife for internet connection to watch your videos. Look, my friend, thank you for being here. You don't apologise for English and that sort of stuff, mate. I think it's very, very good. So no issues as well. 100k a week is a lot for Xerxes. It's not, mate. 100k is standard for a semi-pro, Italian league. The wages there, obviously, are lower, but 100k is not, mate. So my problem here with Jobe Bellingham is, look, it's not necessarily the price. I wonder what bringing Jobe does for the club. You've got to say, you've got to factor in. You look at the Sancho stuff. There were warning signs there to begin with the Sancho stuff. are we going to bring in? I think we have to look at that. I think we have to look at the player. I think we have to look at the entourage around that. You look at the Rashford. You look at the Sancho stuff. I think we have to absolutely look at the entourage around the player. Is he good enough? I've not seen him play, so I can't tell you whether I think he's this amazing player. I think he'd be sat on the bench. He's going to expect to play. He's not going to come into the team and not want to play, and then that causes its own issues. So I just don't see where this is. And then the other part for me is ego. Again, as I mentioned, the alleged family stuff around his dad, around the fact that they are the Bellinghams now, and they are through their own success. There is with your own success can change people. So is that a factor as well? So I think for me, unless Amorim really wants this player, I just don't think that is going to happen, and I'm not convinced on that as well. So I'm not convinced at all on that one. The other thing, Wharton. So Wharton, I think that's there are going to be stories around that. So there's a story that 60 million. United are going to go in with a 60 million pound bid. Look, forget about it. Wharton is not going anywhere until the summertime. 60 million, and I will bring in the message from Toxic as well. Adam Wharton is not going to go for 60 million. Let's be clear. Unless Palace are desperate for the money, which I don't think they are, why would Adam Wharton come in now? I think Liverpool are going to be there or thereabouts. So I think, a 60 million pound bid is not going to do it. I think to get Wharton, you could get him off of Palace. I think that Wharton is going to cost you upwards of 100 million to get him out of Palace in this window. So I think not to waste too much time on that. And also as well, Sir Jim thinks that this team can get into the Champions League. Why is he going to buy a midfielder? And then this would apply to the any other signing that we could make. Danny B says we linked to Breno to Biden too. I've seen that as well. I've been watching this kid for a year. He's a mix between Pedri and Bruno G. I saw that as well. I did see that as well, and I'm not bringing that into the show just purely because again, speculation. I like him. I've seen him a couple of times as well. You've obviously seen him more than I have, but I like that. And again, I like that signing because it shows that we're going to a different market and we are trying to do something different. So if there's any more news on that, I will obviously bring that into the next show as well. But yeah, again, so the Belieber stuff. So I think very similar to the Wharton stuff. Now, I think, again, it's interesting how there are stories before a couple of weeks ago. The Brighton stuff, he's not necessarily happy there. He wants to push a move. He's been hooked off just after half time. Suddenly now reports are he's not for sale. I think Belieber is probably gettable, but again, we're talking about this is now where we need to be careful about spin in this club. Okay, so when it suits the club, we will be after players. Okay, the January window will be approaching. If we're not doing well, the spin will be Belieber. We're going to put in another bid for him. We're going to be doing X, Y, and Z. And then when it will come to it for the whole of the month, look, Sir Jim, in all his wisdom, absolutely believes that this is the Champions League side, which is absolutely horrifically scary. Okay, he's not going to sign players. We've got to have our heads on here. We have never historically done business in this window. We also have to factor, and something else we have to factor in as well. We made a loss this season. We're going to make a loss next season as well. We can't afford to get these players in. So I think the only business that we will do will be loans. Will be cheap deals, cheap loans. We're going to get spun. You know, Ornstein said it, and he prefixed this already, and I think this was missed a lot. He prefixed this with, if we don't get, we're happy with the signings that we've got, and if we don't get the signings in, we'll get them in the next window. And then when we get to the next window, we're going to get, again, we are going to get, oh, they don't see the value in the market. The best case scenario that we can hope in the next window is loan deals. And we are not going to be getting Wharton. Belieber is not going to come either. Not because I think he wants to come. I just don't think that will happen. So I think we have to use logic to dictate. Obviously, I will report what happens, but I just think we have to be honest. You know, there are options, and if Sergio really wants to finish in the Champions League, then basically Ineos and the Glazers have to be bold. They have to be brave, and they have to go in. So I'm with you. I want Anderson as well. Danny B. I like him. I think he's probably all round. I think I would, at this point, over Belieber and Wharton, I would probably prefer him. I think he's a great player. I think he's an all-round. I think he's got everything. And actually, the fact he comes from Forest, I know he was at Newcastle, but he not keen, but because he's coming, those things will be, those comparisons will be made. But I agree, I like Stieler as well. I think Danny B we need two. I think we need Stieler, Anderson, Wharton. I do. I think we, Mikel, I think you're right. We don't make it into the Champions League, Matt. I absolutely. So Badir as well at Lille. Yeah, I know the player. I think he's a great player, but we're just not getting these players. I mean, I will be astounded. I will be absolutely dumbfounded and astounded if we buy a player, unless they're very, very cheap or it's a loan. Look, these players, I believe, are for the summer. We're going to be spun a yarn. We're going to be spun a yarn that we're going to be getting these players, but absolutely, it is not going to happen. So let's keep an eye on this. The only other thing I wanted to mention is around the sale. It's gone quiet. I'm still of the opinion on this sale that it's not a sale. I'm of the opinion that this is investment, and it's really funny that I saw something yesterday which I said, and we spoke about on here. Is this going to be a trifecta of a dream team deal for the Glazers, UAE, and Ineos? The share price is going up slightly. It's not rocketing up, but the share price is going up as well. And why that is significant for me is because if it goes up significantly, then the Glazers have to report something to the SEC on the New York Stock Exchange. So that's going to be the indicator here. Is that not necessarily going to tell you if the share price will, like, if the share price rockets up, and I don't think that will happen until the Glazers come out and say something. So if the Glazers come out and say, look, we are looking to sort of sell, then you will see that price increase. For me right now, the share price is an indicator of, if it goes up a lot, then basically this forces the Glazers to inform the stock exchange as to what will happen. So I'm going to keep looking at that, because if it increases by a significant amount, then we are going to have to get something. So I just wonder if something is going to drop, and United are going to announce a new partnership with the UAE. So I think this is what we're going to need to look at. So Badir is a manageable deal, but we do have any competition for any deal at this point in time. Look, I think we're done. Maybe Europe can make this call. I hope so, Danny B. Look, I really, really hope so, but I just think we've got to be logical on this, and yeah, and I don't think it will happen. So, guys, just a quick show today. Yeah, I will keep an eye if anything else does break. This is that kind of gap in between the international window and the game. There'll be a press conference very, very soon, and then I will get on to that as well and give you an update. So if anything else does come along, updates, I will update you on that as well. But guys, thank you for being here. Absolute legends of the chat. I do appreciate the comments. I appreciate the banter. Absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much for being here. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Please comment on the video if you're just watching this after the event. Hopefully I should be back at some point today. If not, of course, I will see you tomorrow. Forza Milan, amazing club, and I will see you very, very soon. Have a good rest of your day, morning, afternoon, evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.